Hi church, Pastor Jeff here with another Trinity check-in, coming to you from our columbarium for the second Wednesday in a row, because amazingly we've had 2 Wednesdays in a row where the weather has been totally decent to be outside, though I have to say the humidity is making a compelling argument otherwise. Of course, this is 4th of July week 2, and actually just a few hours ago we had our child care had their parades at each location, both downtown and here, and this place was full of families. I originally thought about doing my video in the midst of it all, but there was no way. Don't worry, you'll be seeing pictures. Keep your eyes peeled and we'll get those out there too. But the reason I'm out here today, there's really 2 things I want to say. One of them, I want to say something simple but profound about the 4th of July to help frame the holiday from you from what I believe to be a Christian perspective. But first, I want to give you an update on our building process. You know, we've been talking about building a sanctuary. The idea of moving out here to this location close to 15 years ago now was to eventually build a sanctuary, and that conversation has been ongoing. We kicked it off, well, we had a study committee, but we kicked it off in earnest, what was that, January? Whenever we had that vote. And the committee has been working with BVH, the architects, ever since. We've been talking about this space that we have out here and how could we use it. Now, the labyrinth is beloved, of course, so we would make the labyrinth, we would incorporate a labyrinth of some sort, and no matter what we did. But how could we situate a sanctuary in this spot? What else do we need as far as children's classrooms go? How might it connect to the current building? You know, what do we even need? That kind of question. Now, I will tell you, there's one thing that when you ask an architect, they will give you nothing but a very careful blank stare, and that is, how much do you think this will cost? And quite frankly, I don't blame them. That's not their job. Their job is to design, to come up with the clever ideas, to know how the different pieces fit together. So this month we have 2 very important pieces of information that are going to come, and we're going to be sharing those with the church as they come, and they're going to guide, I think, how we make whatever decisions follow depending on what that information is. The first one is going to be coming this Monday evening. Our building committee is having a meeting both with BVH, the architects, and with Samson, a builder who is going to be giving us the initial estimate on what it would cost. So BVH will be coming in with fresh sketches based on our guidance of what it might look like, and then Samson will estimate how much it will cost. This will be our first look at a price tag, because any number that's in our heads is nothing but that. It's just a guess, and nobody really knows until you ask a builder to at least get the rubber close to the road. That's going to be a big piece of information when it comes, and the range that we expect it to be in is so wide that it's not even useful. So pay attention for that. That information will be coming. I don't know if we're going to get it at the meeting or shortly after, but we could potentially even get that information next week. Okay, that's early July. Later in July, on the 25th, our church council and building committee are going to have a joint meeting, and the consultant, fundraising consultant, who's been putting together a feasibility study. Basically, lots of big words there. What they're really doing is asking, how much can we afford? I got a little preview of the report, and one important thing that it says is our members are fired up about this. You all are excited, and that is excellent news, and I'm so glad for it. But it still begs the question, based on our demographics and what we have to give, how much does that add up to? How much can we expect to raise? That's a very important number to have. And the hope is that when we meet on the 25th, we'll have both the potential price tag, and we'll be able to set it next to how much we think we can raise and begin to make decisions from there. Now, maybe there's ways we can talk about that. You know, maybe we could build in more than one phase. Right, as this information comes in, those are the kinds of questions that our building committee will be asking. But I wanted to give you all a preview because it's going to be kind of a head-spinning month. None of this has happened yet. I really have nothing to share other than a schedule, but we're about to. There's about to be a lot of information, and it's exciting, and I am really looking forward to the process, to finding it, and to helping to interpret it, or whatever I can offer to help in that process as we go. So look forward to it, and I would also say pray for it. I don't think we say that often enough to talk about how we pray for our church and what we want to do together. We see what God does through our church. We see what God does in us when we're at church. But I don't think most of us, well, Protestants, frankly, pray enough for our church and what God does through it. So I hope you'll be praying for this process, because I know that God has much in store for Trinity. It's just a question of how we get there and how the pieces fall as we go. Okay, 4th of July. We are in a place right now where we are in a very interesting political moment in our country, aren't we? And I have yet to figure out how to address that as a pastor. Part of me feels like I need to say more. Part of me doesn't know what to say. Part of me, you know what I'm saying, right? But there's one thing that I heard a long time ago about patriotic holidays like the 4th of July that has framed the way I've looked at them ever since, and I want to share that with you. So, first of all, there's gratitude. There have been there are places in this world where people cannot come to church and worship freely as we do. And so we can be grateful to all who've given to make that possible. That's part of what 4th of July is about for us, that gratitude. But the other thing is about freedom. Usually when we say the word freedom, what we mean is freedom from. So freedom from tyranny, freedom from fascism. I would include things like income, like the problem of income inequality in our society. That's really a freedom from issues, because there are those that don't have freedom from the constraints that not even having the option to make enough money to have a sustainable lifestyle. They need freedom from that, right? So that's freedom from. But, now I don't want to falsely attribute a theologian here. I will admit I haven't gone back and actually read, but I believe this comes from Friedrich Bonhoeffer, the theologian around World War II, who quite famously stood up to Hitler and the Nazis, both through his theology, and after escaping went back into Germany to fight the regime that was there. Gives a little gravity to what he says, right? I believe this is from him. If any of you have read and know, please tell me if I'm off base. But as I understand it, instead of saying freedom from, he says think about freedom to. Not just freedom from. It's not that that doesn't matter. But instead, what are you using your freedom for? Now, as I've already said in this video here, part of it is freedom to worship, right? We use our freedom to worship. We use our freedom for the purpose of growing closer with God and helping others have that kind of broader view of the world that gives meaning, that gives sense, the spiritual side of things. But it also means that just because we have freedom, well, if we don't use it for anything, if we don't use it for good, if we don't use it to increase freedom for other people, if we don't use our freedom for something, if we don't use our freedom to do something, then what good is it? And the truth is, that's the only real freedom, because freedom that we don't use for anything isn't really worth what we think it is. So, I hope that this 4th of July, you will be grateful for all that you have, and for all that our position in the world gives us. But almost more than the gratitude, I hope that you will use that freedom. Now, what that looks like, I don't know. What that looks like in our current political moment, I don't know yet. But I'm praying for it, and I hope that you are too. And I hope that we can figure it out together, because God has placed us here in this moment, and a place in a time like this, and given us the freedom that we have for a reason. All right, I kind of went into preacher mode there. Hopefully it meant something to you. In the meantime, I hope you'll also continue to pray for everything we're trying to do as a church. If you haven't seen the columbarium yet, come on out sometime. It's beautiful. Eric Nelson is still working on the plants that are around. Like every time I walk by, I try to see what's new as it begins to take shape, and I can't wait to see when it's all the way done too. All right, have a good holiday, and I will see all of you Sunday. I cannot wait.